Fine arts illuminate our present and explicate our past. SCAD professors teach brilliant young creators every day. And in this series, we reveal the works that most inspire our experts. This is SCADclass. Today we survey Pablo Picasso's most recognizable painting and one of the definitive artworks of the 20th century, Guernica. Joining me today is SCAD Professor of Art History, Stephen Wagner.
I saw this in person when I was about 20 years old at MoMA, at the Museum of Modern Art, and it was very powerful.
Probably Picasso's most famous work.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, Picasso was probably already the most famous artist in the world when he painted this, right?
Absolutely, yes, he definitely was. Definitely. 1937. Picasso was, dare I say, he was riding on his laurels with Cubism, right? And that was very influential. He was very successful with that. And he was living the high life in Paris, which is, of course, where the art world was, right? Because he had left his homeland a long time ago. He left politics and everything behind in Spain. His painting, the Demoiselle d'Avignon, that cemented his career, basically.
Yes.
I think that is, in my humble opinion, that is one of the most important paintings of the early 20th century.
Yes.
And it's not technically Cubism yet, right? It's almost. I mean, he certainly facets the human bodies and all of that, but he's turning the classical tradition on its ear. He worked very closely with Georges Braque, and really they were wrestling with a new way of representing 3 dimensions on a flat canvas. They worked with the faceting and really breaking down, getting rid of all the color and everything. So those early Cubist paintings, what they call the analytic Cubist paintings, are devoid of most color. He's also getting into surrealism, which was already one of the hot movements at this moment. They came up with collage together, this mix of different materials. And that, of course, inspired other movements, futurism, some of the Russian movements, and so forth. He definitely shook up the art world, definitely. He was not particularly political at this point in his career, and so Picasso was commissioned to do a mural for an exhibition in Paris, 1937, and he was having trouble coming up with a subject for his mural, and then Guernica happened.
First pictures from the Basque Republic of the holy city of Guernica, scene of the most terrible air raid our modern history yet can boast. Hundreds were killed here, men, women, and children. 4,000 bombs were dropped out of a blue sky into a hell that raged unchecked for 5 murderous hours.
In 1936, Generalissimo Francisco Franco, who was basically fascist and very much allied with the Nazis, began to conquer different areas of Spain. It was a very protracted, bloody war. It lasted about 3 years, and unfortunately, Franco won. So in 1937, this event happened. The Nazis sent, just for practice, they sent bomber planes to this village and killed 1,600 people, mostly
on a market day.
Yes, on a market day, that's right, that's right. And it was supported. Franco invited the Nazis to bomb the town. The news reached Paris within a couple of days, and that galvanized Picasso to paint this. He did it in 3 weeks.
He must have been painting in a fury.
He allowed a photographer to come in, Dora Maar, and photograph him in progress. And when he saw the black and white photographs, that inspired him to do it in black and white.
More powerful.
Right, very much so. Close to the center, just to the left of the center, there's a diamond. He had painted that red originally, and that was going to be the only color, but he changed his mind. He ordered a special kind of matte finish, house paint, because he didn't want any of that glossy, right? So it's a very flat finish. We have, I think, one of the most gut-wrenching motifs in there, the mother screaming, holding her dead child. Above that, we have a bull that's very dark, and the Minotaur, right? The Minotaur is sort of his alter ego.
Oh.
And bull, of course, symbol of Spanish power and Spanish history. Below that, we have a dead soldier whose body is dismembered. To the right of that, we see a horse. The horse's body is very much twisted as if it is in pain, and the horse's mouth is open. You'll notice the horse has sort of a textured finish reminiscent of newsprint.
Yes.
Well, that reminds me of the collages that he made early in his Cubist career.
Yes.
Above that, we have a lamp, right, which, you know, kind of looks like the sun in a way. It really illuminates the whole thing. I mean, it really calls attention to all of the horror.
And the bright light, is he shining a bright light on this
Yes,
extraordinary event?
I think so too, actually, because that long arm is also holding a light.
Oh yes, a torch.
Yeah. We see a broken sword at the bottom, the man's severed arm. We see heads also that seem to be floating. And then we have a woman, the building that she's in is on fire, right? And she's screaming for help.
Just terror.
There are some very subtle references in here. One of the women in there has her tongue in the shape of a dagger. There are actually 3 areas where there are daggers in place of the tongues. So when it was displayed, the exhibition had already opened. The official German guidebook did not give it a good review. Not surprising,
surprise.
right? They said, quote, "It's a hodgepodge of body parts that any 4-year-old could paint."
Oh my
Now,
goodness.
How many times have you heard, you know, when you're looking at an abstract painting, say by Pollock or Mark Rothko, oh, a 4-year-old could paint that, right? No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
But of course, it's not surprising to hear that.
But then it went on a world tour, right, and to high acclaim.
Yes, it did, very high acclaim, and it rested in New York for quite a long time.
Because Picasso didn't want it
He
to
didn't
go.
want it to go to Spain. It was at MoMA for many years, but it returned to Spain in 1981. Great acclaim, of course, when it went back to its homeland.
Absolutely. Tell me about some of his influences.
We have to think about Las Meninas, right? Velázquez's most famous painting.
Yeah.
Velázquez was a pretty prolific painter in the Baroque period that really plays with the viewer's sense of space and the role of the artist, right? The whole idea of illusionism. Picasso must have just eaten that up. But there is something very interesting too about this. Cubism broke down all of the traditional ideas about perspective and the natural space. However, Picasso was trained in the classical tradition.
Yes, he was.
And we still see remnants of that here. There's a big triangular composition,
Yes.
much like Las Meninas. The very straight lines juxtaposed with all of the curves, the contours, kind of divides the painting up geometrically. And also Goya, right? Goya's print series, his aquatints, especially the Miseries of War. That series, based on the wars between Spain and France, that had a big impact on Picasso. People ask Picasso too about the symbolism, and Picasso was sometimes kind of cryptic, right? He kept people guessing, and he answered. He said, "A horse is a horse. A bull is a bull."
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
If you want to put meaning on it, go ahead. But it really didn't want to give an answer to that.
The art changes as one's thoughts change.
Right, and over time too. Early in the Ukraine war, this artist, Roberto Marquez, a Mexican-American artist, went to Kyiv and he painted on a bridge a replica of Guernica in color.
Wow.
One question I always ask my students at the beginning of the course is, what is the greatest catalyst of change throughout human history? And it's war. It's always war.
For all of you watching, keep the conversation going in the comments, and I'll see you next time.